When people hear that semen retention can improve vision, they often misunderstand it. It is not about suddenly seeing better with your eyes. It is about how you perceive, how clearly you see situations, people, and even your own thoughts. Vision, in this context, is mental clarity. It is the ability to understand what is happening around you without confusion, and thoughts are the patterns that guide your decisions. When both become clearer, your entire life begins to change. Retention does not magically give you new abilities. It removes the noise that was clouding them. Most people live with constant mental noise. Thoughts are always running, worrying, imagining, reacting, and repeating patterns without control. This noise makes it difficult to think clearly or focus deeply. When you practice retention, one of the first changes is a reduction in this noise. The mind becomes quieter, not completely silent, but less chaotic. Thoughts slow down and become more organized. This creates space, and in that space, clarity begins to appear. You start noticing what actually matters instead of being overwhelmed by everything at once. Attention is directly connected to how clearly you think. When attention is scattered, your thoughts become weak and inconsistent. You struggle to focus, and your mind keeps jumping from one thing to another. Retention helps gather this scattered attention. When energy is no longer constantly drained, your focus becomes stronger. You can stay with one thought longer. You can analyze situations more deeply. This improved focus strengthens your mental vision. You begin to see details, patterns, and connections that you previously missed. Another shift happens in the way thoughts are formed. Before retention, many thoughts are automatic. They appear randomly, influenced by habits, emotions, and external triggers. With retention, you begin to notice your thoughts as they arise. Instead of being carried away by them, you start guiding them. You choose what to focus on. You decide which thoughts deserve attention. This makes your thinking more intentional. Instead of reacting to every thought, you begin directing your mind, and that changes the quality of your decisions. As mental noise reduces and focus improves, your perception of reality becomes clearer. Situations that once felt confusing start to make sense. You begin to understand people's behavior more easily. You notice patterns in your life, habits, reactions, and outcomes. This awareness allows you to make better choices because you are no longer acting blindly. This is what people often describe as improved vision. It is not about eyesight. It is about seeing clearly, both internally and externally. Emotions strongly influence thinking. When emotions are intense, thoughts become distorted. You may overthink, assume the worst, or react without clarity. Retention helps stabilize emotional reactions. As your internal state becomes calmer, your thoughts become more balanced. You are less likely to think impulsively or emotionally. This creates a more stable thinking process. You can evaluate situations without being overwhelmed by feelings, and this stability improves both your vision and your decision-making. With improved focus and reduced distractions, your thinking becomes deeper. Instead of skimming the surface of ideas, you begin to explore them fully. You reflect more, you analyze more, you understand things at a deeper level. This depth allows you to see connections between ideas and recognize patterns that others may overlook. This is where true mental growth happens, not in thinking more, but in thinking better. One of the most powerful changes is becoming aware of your own thought patterns. You start noticing how certain thoughts repeat, how certain emotions trigger specific reactions, and how your mind operates over time. This awareness allows you to change those patterns. You are no longer trapped in automatic thinking. You can break negative cycles and build more constructive ones. This is where retention moves from discipline to transformation. Imagination is often misunderstood as random thinking, but it is closely connected to how clearly you can visualize ideas, plans, and possibilities. When the mind is cluttered with noise and distractions, imagination becomes chaotic and unfocused. With retention, as mental noise reduces, your imagination becomes more structured. You can visualize situations more clearly and think through possibilities with greater detail. This is not about daydreaming. It is about having a clearer internal picture of what you want to do and where you are going. A clear imagination strengthens your ability to plan and act. It turns vague thoughts into something more defined and usable. Another important shift happens in how you make decisions. When thoughts are scattered and emotions are unstable, decisions are often impulsive or uncertain. You may hesitate, overthink, or act without clarity. As retention improves focus and emotional balance, your decision-making becomes more precise. You can evaluate situations calmly and choose actions with more confidence. You are less influenced by temporary emotions and more guided by clear thinking. This creates a sense of direction. Instead of constantly questioning your choices, you begin to trust your judgment. Most people are focused on short-term outcomes, immediate pleasure, quick results, or temporary satisfaction. This limits their ability to think beyond the present moment. With retention, your thinking naturally begins to extend further into the future. You start considering long-term consequences and long-term goals. You become more aware of how your current actions affect your future state. This shift changes your priorities. You begin to make choices that support growth instead of temporary comfort. And this long-term perspective strengthens both your vision and your overall direction in life. Semen retention does not give you new vision or new thoughts. It clears what was blocking them. It reduces mental noise, strengthens attention, stabilizes emotions, and allows you to think with clarity. As a result, your perception improves, your decisions become more intentional, and your awareness deepens. The real change is simple. You begin to see clearly, and you begin to think consciously.